started. Get started. I would sing that Get It Started song, but I hate that song. Let's get it started. Ha. In here. I don't like that song. Hi, I'm Akia, and on this Easy Sunday, I am the rest and relaxation behind Dr. Charlie Untangled. I am a maker, a knit and crochet wear designer, a craftivist, and a biomedical engineering PhD from the south side of Chicago. Hey, welcome and welcome back. Today's gonna be an interesting day. As you can see the little setup here, we got some things to do. Do I have a hair doing a thing? I always have a hair doing a thing. But before I get into what we're doing today, if you feel so moved, please subscribe. I would love that. You know, let's just be yarn friends. And definitely leave a comment if you like this kind of content that we do today, and to tell me what you want to see more of. And also feel free to follow me on Instagram and TikTok. I am so close. I'm like almost at like 95K on Instagram, trying to get to 10K. I don't know what happens on the other side of 10K, but we gonna find out together, okay? Amen. So yeah, if you feel so moved, please do that as well. Okay, so today things are happening. So next week, April 20th and 21st is YarnCon, which is a Chicago event that features a number of vendors, fiber-related vendors from Chicago and all over. And it happens every year, and it is like one of my favorite events of the year. And for folks who go to fiber events, sometimes it's a thing where you want to finish a knitted or crocheted or fiber-related piece for that event. And sometimes it's not necessary. Sometimes you just wear what you wear and it's fine. But I think I want to finish a thing. But that's literally a week from yesterday. So, got a lot to do if I want to actually finish a piece. So in my last video, the 10 knit and 10 crochet patterns by Black designers that you need to make for spring, check that out if you haven't. One of the things that I talked about I wanted to make was the Drinks on the Patio crop top by AKA Shayna on Instagram. And I still want to do it. And I have this beautiful yarn, like I said not last week, whenever it was, some other point in time. I said I had this beautiful yarn by Priska Fiber Co. that I think would make a really pretty crop top. It would make a really pretty anything, really. And I think I'm gonna make the Drinks on the Patio crop top. I keep wanting to call it the Drinks on the Lanai. I think I'm just gonna call it that. Because as a young aspiring golden girl, like, that's just what I call it now. It's just the Lanai. So I'm gonna make a Drinks on the Lanai with my Priska Fiber Co. yarn. And yeah, I think it'll be fun. And I figured, since I'll need to wind all 4 of these. So these yarns are variegated and they're very different per skein. So what I'm gonna have to do, and I think 2 of them are a little bit more vibrant than the other 2. So I'm definitely going to have to alternate skeins. So I will not need all of this yarn, but I'm gonna need to alternate skeins. So I'm gonna wind all 4 of them and then see how much yarn I have left over to see what else that I can make. Maybe some shorts. I don't know. But summer's coming, things are happening, and who doesn't love a matching set? So I'm gonna see what I can get out of this, and we'll get back to that. But I figure while I wind all this yarn, we can do a little Q&A. So I set up a little poll on Instagram and asked you guys what you wanted to know about me, because I've never done a Q&A before, and a lot of folks don't really know a lot about me or how I got started or all the things. So I figured I'd just answer some questions while we wind, okay? So it's gonna be a winding day. A slow wind. Wine with me. It's too late. You're already here. You already love me. It's too late. You can't run now. But yeah, I figured I'd answer some questions while we wind. So, what should I start with? This one I've had my eye on for a bit. This color is just too good. Look at this. Look at this color. It just screams spring. Oh, it's so beautiful. Oh, and also before we get to this. I know the question I'm gonna get is, what am I wearing? So let's take a look. This is the Rhoda sleeveless top, and I am forgetting the name of the designer. Let's check real quick. Not Rita. Girl, Ravelry really be wanting you to look for everything else but what you're actually searching for. The Rhoda sleeveless top by Irene Lin. It's a beautiful piece, okay? And I've made mine pretty cropped. You can't tell under my very cute overalls that I got from Amazon, which I can link as well. But it's very cute and I love it. And I made it this past summer and I just love wearing it. Like, it's such a great piece. It's just got all the texture in the world. And I made it in this really basic color, so it goes with literally everything. Highly recommend it. I was really afraid of all over lace before I did this project, but this is a super simple, like, repeatable way to just kind of dive in. So if you're like an adventurous person and you're like, all right, I'm ready to do some lace, like, this is a perfect one. And it's a tank top, it's cropped, you know, if you like that kind of thing. So it's not a ton of knitting. So I think it's a good way to just like dip your toes into lace. You can do it. I believe in you. Try it out. Tell me how it goes. Okay, so I'm gonna get set up here and start answering some questions from y'all over on the interwebs down at the Instagram. So one question that's not on here that I actually get a lot is the origin of the name Dr. Charlie Untangled. And figure we might as well start there. This is as good a place as any to get started. So Dr. Charlie Untangled is the name of my brand, and business is actually a way to pay homage to my grandparents. So my maternal grandmother is the one who taught me how to crochet, her and my mom, and my paternal grandmother was the one who taught me how to knit. So my maternal grandfather, he was a character, and he named all the girls in our family like random names that like have nothing to do with our actual names, because that's just what old men do. I don't know. I have no explanation for it. But my mom got named Charlie, and then when I came along, I was itty bitty Charlie. No need to differentiate. We were just both Charlie after that. And other girls in my family were named like Tuesday and George and whatever else that he just saw fit to name us that had nothing to do with anything. So yeah, that's just what it was. When he said George, we all knew who he meant. But when I like became more of an adult, it became difficult to differentiate between the Charlies, my mom and I. And so when I started grad school, my grandparents, both maternal and paternal, they've been super supportive of my journey to getting my PhD. So when I started grad school, they started calling me Dr. Charlie. So to just, clear that right on up. And it was just such a sweet thing. I just always loved it. I thought it was such a sweet thing. And so every time I'd call him at school, I'm like, oh, like, hey, Papa, what's up? And he's like, oh, hey, Dr. Charlie. So that's kind of how I got that name, Dr. Charlie. And so when I was trying to think of a way to name my brand, name my business, that's the thing that kept coming back to me, because so much of fiber arts for me is really about legacy, family, community. And Dr. Charlie, the Untangled part, is really like all of the ways that plays into my life. So it's like untangling life one stitch at a time, all the things, me being a Black woman, me being a Black woman maker, me being a Black woman maker from the South Side of Chicago, me being a Black woman maker from the South Side of Chicago who happens to have her PhD in biomedical engineering, and like all of the different ways that like that impacts my identity, all of the ways that I'm unpacking the trauma from all of those said things, and just fully kind of becoming who I am in a way that like honors the people whose shoulders I'm standing on. So yeah, that's where the name comes from. It's kind of corny, but I like it. And both of my maternal grandparents are now passed, but my dad's mom is still alive, and so, you know, we frequently chat about fiber, and I steal yarn from her from the 70s. And my Black Lives Matter rug sweater that I made, a good bit of that yarn is yarn I got from her. So it's just incorporated into a lot of who I am. So yeah, that's where that came from. Okay, next question. Someone asked about like my PhD, what the topic is, and can you tell us more about the doctor part? Well, yes. Not too much though, because that would take a whole nother video, probably a whole nother series of videos, but yeah, we can talk about the doctor part. So I have completed my PhD in biomedical engineering that I received from Georgia Tech and Emory. It was a joint program that basically allowed you to take advantage of the expertise of like professors and labs and classes at both universities. And it was a really cool program that I actually learned about in undergrad. So I went to University of Missouri for undergrad, and I had a research mentor, a student mentor who went on to grad school at Georgia Tech, and she told me about the program, and she was like, hey girl, come on down. There's this really cool lab with my advisor, Dr. Platt. And so I went down there, and it changed my life. Like, I grew to feel comfortable and kind of proud of myself in the research and the science I was able to do there. Like in undergrad, I really left feeling like, okay, what did I actually learn? Like, what skills do I actually have? And so when I graduated in, 2013, particularly in the bio program at Mizzou, it was not as developed as it is now, and there was not a lot of like exposure to biomedical engineering, what you actually could do with that afterward. And so my thought was that I could only do research. And I had been doing research in undergrad and was like, okay, this might be a thing. And then after I had my experience in Atlanta with Dr. Platt at Georgia Tech, I was like, okay, this is for me. Like, maybe I even want to be a professor. That died quickly. But yeah, so that happened. It was a really big part of my life. Like, we had a really tight-knit, almost kind of family-like group. I don't like saying family when it comes to work, but in that particular scenario, because of the relationship that I had and still have with the people in that lab, it very much was a family group, and I really appreciated that, and it really helped make a very difficult, very traumatic process like that much better. So that's the Fifi side of it. My studies, I'm really struggling to, does anybody else have this issue where they struggle, like even after you identify the end, where you struggle to find where to start from? So excuse me while I struggle to find the end here. But yes, so what I actually studied was looking at shoulder injuries and trying to understand what proteins are involved in the degradation of the tendons in your rotator cuff in the shoulder. So that required a lot of things, particularly like animal studies. So a rat study where we literally like made rats run on a treadmill to try to simulate the injury, like overuse injury that humans get on their shoulders, and to study what happened and what was upregulated, meaning like what was activated, you know, due to that injury, and to try to identify what happened. And so with that information, we were able to start investigating, like, okay, these are the proteins that are around that degrade collagen. Okay, they degrade collagen better than any other protein in the body. They're degrading the collagen in the shoulder, causing, you know, this damage to the tendons. And so what's the tea? Like, what's going on? Like, who shows up when? It's very, science and Real Housewives are like, there's a Venn diagram there. Because it's like, who shows up when, what do they do? And these proteins are called proteases, meaning they eat other proteins. So like, Homegirl shows up and is supposed to be chewing on this, but actually when Homegirl 2 shows up, she's chewing on her instead of the one she's supposed to be chewing up. But it actually depends on what time they arrive at the party. So it's a very interesting, very intricate story that's really kind of cool, but very difficult to really elucidate what was happening. So anyway, now that I've officially like gone down this path of nerding out about tendons, just know you asked, okay? Y'all asked to know more about that. But yes, that is what I studied. And the next question that I usually get after that is like, oh, do I still do like rotator cuff research, or am I in the like orthopedic space at all? And the answer to that is no. The PhD teaches you how to think, and you can go on and use the research that you have to, you know, break into other things, but you don't have to. And there are a number of other different things that people do. And most folks who get a PhD don't actually end up in academia. So that is, like I said, another video for another day about properly training and educating folks for careers outside of academia once they go to grad school, because it's critical. All right, we're just gonna move right on with that before I get on a soapbox. But yeah, that's what I studied. But it's not what I do now. Okay, so moving away from the Dr. Charlie and the doctor part, now we're gonna get into some more like fiber related questions once I get going here. Okay, great. So this one says, why did you decide to become a yarn influencer, and how do you maintain motivation? That's an excellent question. So it's one of those things that just kind of happened because of my personality. I am relatively extroverted. I love to share what I'm making. I love to see what other people are making. I love to talk about tools and strategies and patterns and really dig into the fiber community. And when I started designing, it really started exposing me to resources, people, tools. I am really struggling with this, y'all. We're just gonna keep going. We're just gonna hope this evens out. But yeah, I got exposed to a bunch of people and to community that I love and wanted to talk about it. So I would share the things that I'm making, the yarn that I'm using. I have a very dangerous yarn buying habit. And so that just kind of turned into talking about it a lot. People would ask me what I'm making, you know, what I'm making with. Ooh, what's that made out of? And so things just kind of have evolved that way. I love designing, but I don't like designing. We're gonna go back some. Okay, I'm interrupting my story for a different story. Is anyone else particular like I am when I wind? Like, I like all the yarn to be perfectly laid across the ball. Like, I don't like the little strands that end up on the bottom. I think I need a new ball winder. I need to holler at Clover because I saw their new one at VKL, and let me tell you, it's great. Okay, I saw it in action and she's glorious. So yeah, I think I need a new ball winder. And this may just be a twisted skein, which happens. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, I started designing, but I like designing, but I don't like designing on demand. And that's a lot. That's basically what the requirement is when you actually want to make money from design, and don't just design with a different strategy where you're just getting people on your webpage maybe, or like just for the fun of it. But if you actually want to build a business where you actually generate revenue, for me, the pace at which I needed to design was giving me burnout. Especially, I started in the middle of 2020. There was one or two things happening at that time. And work really was a lot for me at that time as well. And it just wasn't something I could sustain. And so part of my pivot has just been to doing more things that I enjoy, content creation, and talking about the things that I'm making, the things that I love, the places that I'm going, all of that. So yeah, that's kind of how that evolved. I started really with design and just has evolved into really this is a fun one. What was the first pattern you ever attempted? That is an excellent question. I actually don't remember. I learned how to crochet when I was 6 years old. So I have no idea what I was making. I just remember my first swatch. I remember my first crochet swatch, it just getting smaller and smaller and smaller, like, because I was missing stitches and my tension was so tight. Like, I was telling Patty Lyons that I could chop wood with that swatch because it was solid. I had so much tension, which is why I always tell people who are new to crochet, like, relax. This is supposed to be a relaxing venture for you, and it will come naturally over time. Like, once your fingers do the things that your brain wants you to do, because it's not hard to understand. It's just about getting your hands to match what your brain is wanting. So that comes over time. And I was trying to make a scarf. I don't know, it might have been my first piece, but I was trying to make a swatch, make a scarf, and I remember, like, I got to the end and it said to, like, chain 2 and turn. And so what I did, instead of, so like you build blocks like when you crochet, and so when it said chain, I got to the end, it said chain 2 and turn. I didn't realize it meant turn this way. So I just turned it all the way around and basically connected it in the round with this random loopy chain 2 in the middle and just kept doing rounds of that. It's hard to visualize by just saying it, but just know it was crazy. And so it just had gradually gotten better after that. And then I think the first thing that I actually made was a blanket to match my room in high school. So that was probably the first real thing I actually made. But yeah, my journey to being better at crochet, it started way at the bottom, which is how I know anybody could do it. So yeah, get into it if you're not. Crochet is lit. All right, what's next? Let's see. Oh, this is okay. So this is kind of related to the other question. What made you go public with Fibercraft, blog, YouTube, etc.? So yeah, I'll talk about it specifically for YouTube. I love YouTube. It's like one of the things that I watch probably more than really any other platform. And I love I know it's kind of parasocial, but I love kind of the relationships that you build with people on YouTube. You know, I love people that are super funny and creative and where I can learn from them, but also learn who they are and their, you know, idiosyncrasies and the things that they're learning and being challenged with in any different categories, like fiber. I love like home design and, you know, home decor and comedy and all kinds of things. I think YouTube allows you to kind of see a journey of someone or a group of people, and I liked that aspect. And so it just gives me an opportunity in a slightly longer form, you know, than like social media, Instagram, to build community with fiber people. And I just wanted to see if I could do it. Like, I like it and I like talking and I like fiber stuff. So I'm like, well, let's see if we can make this work. So here we are. Let me know how I'm doing. What's the best way to learn to knit sweaters for a total knitting beginner? Ooh. All right. Now this one I have to think about a little bit. So, whoops. This is the world's weirdest ball. I just want y'all to know that like there's complete and utter chaos that is happening simultaneously with answering these questions. I'm probably gonna rewind this. I'm not even gonna hold you. I'm gonna rewind this, but we just need to get this out of the skein and just keep it pushing. So yeah, I think that in and of itself is lesson 1 for learning how to knit sweaters for an absolute knitting beginner. You gotta learn to adapt. recognizing when things aren't working and being able to adapt. Learning how to read your work is important. Read your stitches, knowing what happens, what it's supposed to look like, and what it looks like in front of you. How to count your stitches and rows, that's important. So yeah, reading your work, being able to pivot if things don't work out, reaching out for help if you need it, learning that it's okay to rip it back out. It's okay to frog it. Sometimes things don't work. This top that I'm making now, I fully have a whip casted on over there that I don't like. I'm doing it again in something else, and that's okay. In terms of like practical advice for knitting a sweater for an absolute beginner, check out where we are now, some YouTube tutorials. There's a lot of people that have some good information about how to start knitting a sweater. Now, I will say, like, picking a pattern that has stitches that you are comfortable with is going to be critical, because the thing that usually is transitioning a new knitter to a garment is the shaping of it all. Because you are also going to be learning shaping, unless you're just super adventurous, in my opinion, I think it may be best to not make something with too complicated of a stitch pattern, so that you actually can focus on what the shaping is, how it's laying on you, how it's fitting you, making sure you understand the gauge, all of the things that you'll be learning that are critical for knitting a sweater. Don't complicate that by also having a stitch pattern that you are not familiar with. That's just my personal recommendation. But again, feel free to do whatever you want. There are beginner sweater patterns. I would recommend a top-down something or other. Probably a top-down raglan. That's probably the most vanilla generic answer as a way to dive in. But I think the important part of knitting a sweater is understanding the construction. Once you understand the construction, you understand the knit stitch pattern, the gauge, the properties of your yarn, and what that will do before and after you block it. Understanding those pieces are what's going to get you a sweater that you love and that is beautiful and that it fits well. So keep those things in mind. But I don't there's no specific formula for how to knit your first sweater. You just pick a design that you like that has stitches that you could do or that you're willing to learn and practice a little bit so that you get it. Understanding that construction, understanding your yarn, and go for it, girl. You got this. We're, as fiber people, we are creative and adventurous and curious, and trust yourself, lean into it. Just try it. And again, if you mess up, which you will, make no mistake, you will start over. All you can do is set yourself up for the most success that you can. You get your stitch markers, you take notes. I use my iPad religiously to take notes for patterns. I make sure I have somebody on hand who can help me, maybe someone at your local yarn shop. If you have a fiber friend, have someone on hand so you can run something by, be like, girl, what does this mean? I don't know what this means. Am I doing this right? Does this shaping look weird? Does this look too snug or whatever? What should I do? This fiber isn't behaving the same way as the fiber in the pattern. All of those things. Having someone to talk to about it is also really helpful. So if you can find that, definitely do that. But if you don't have that person immediately available to you, like I said, check out YouTube. There's a ton of content that's specifically about baby's first sweater, So I don't even remember my first sweater. What was my first sweater? I think it was my mom's sweater. I had started on one for me, but hadn't finished it. And the one I actually finished first was for my mom. And looking back, shout out to my mom for just loving it anyway, but it could be better. Knowing what I know now about, again, fiber behavior, shaping, structure, gauge, all of that, I would do it differently, and I probably owe her another sweater at this point. But yeah, you learn. It's gonna be interesting, but you learn, and you grow from that, and you make amazing stuff. So be proud of whatever stage you're at and whatever your sweater looks like now, because it only gets better from here. Okay, and I have done way more talking than winding, so I gotta catch up because I don't have that many questions left. Insert montage here. caught up a little bit. Let's dive into the next question. What do you think is your biggest crafting achievement, or what's your favorite project? I'll answer both. Oh man, okay, this is a harder answer than I thought it would be. I don't know. I feel like every time I try a new technique, I feel like it's my favorite project or biggest crafting achievement. Like, honestly, like every time I try a new thing, like the Rhoda, this was my first all over lace and I was really proud of that. I'm working on a brioche cardigan that I'm really proud of, that is just taking forever, but like, it's not brioche, it's fisherman's rib, but it has a brioche like texture. But I've never made a garment out of that, so really proud of that. I would say the design that I'm most proud of is probably the Free Speech and Headlight cowl that I designed that honors Ida B. Wells and her, you know, spreading the word about the horrific lynching practices that were happening in the South. And she was not from Chicago, but she spent a large part of her life in Chicago, and she helped start the NAACP, and she was part of the women's suffrage movement, and just was a general overall badass, and was really brave considering the time where, you know, that she was alive and when she was coming of age and doing her thing. So like, and I live in Chicago, and there's a lot of things that honor her here, so it's just it's a very special piece for me because it's, you know, a Chicago Black woman badass, you know, and those seem to be like my favorite kinds of badass. So I'm really proud of that one. And it was a color work technique that I had not really felt like I mastered before I actually designed the piece. So it was really a stretch for me in a lot of ways in terms of learning about her and trying to honor her and how to translate that creatively, but then also how to kind of grow myself as a designer at the time. Like, I'm very proud of that piece. It's like one of my more popular ones, and I'm really proud of it. I'm really proud of what I was able to accomplish with that one. So yeah, but I feel like, I don't know, there's other fiber related accomplishments that I feel like are not just like project based, you know. I'm proud of myself for, you know, branching out and trying to find more fiber community. I'm like proud that I was fortunate enough to be able to go to my first Rhinebeck last year. I got invited to go to Vogue Knitting Live to capture content, so that was a big accomplishment for, you know, my business as an influencer and content creator. And I'm proud of YouTube. Like, it's fun and cool, but it is not simple and just easy. Like, oh, you just turn the camera on. Yes, but like, no. She's not easy to do. So I'm proud of myself for sticking with this and trying to find a cadence that works for me. I'm not perfect. It's not perfect. It's not fleshed out fully yet. I'm still very much building and working on what kind of style and timing and whatever works for me. If y'all know any editors I can hire, please let your girl know. Okay, because I need one desperately. But yeah, I'm proud of pushing myself to step out of that box, because I have been wanting to start my YouTube channel since 2019, and for whatever reason, just never did until I did. And I have a lot of people to specifically thank for kicking my butt over the cliff to say, just jump and do it. So yeah, that probably is the most uncomfortable thing that I have done, is doing this. Even though I love it so much, it's a lot of work, and I don't know, it's very public. So I'm like, I just, you know, the internet, like, she can be very fickle, you know. Sometimes she's with us and sometimes, oh no, like, you're canceled. And so I don't want no smoke, you know what I'm saying? I just want to be in the fiber world and hang out and whatever. So yeah, I'm proud of the ways that I continue to push myself out of my comfort zone. The last question is my dream project or event or collab. Ooh, okay, so I have to think about this one too. I don't know. What would my dream collab or dream project be? I know one of the things I want to do is a community project, like a specific craftivism based community art project with fiber. I'm really inspired by London K and the work that she does, like the big scale knit and crochet stuff that she does, or maybe it's just crochet, but anyway, her fiber arts are incredible and I would love to do something like that. But I have a lot of things that I want to do. I don't know. I almost don't want to tell you. I don't know. I would love to do a lot of things. I would love to help write a book. I would love to, collaborate on a yarn line. I would love to, I don't know. I mean, I honestly want to be the Beyonce of knitting, where I just jump into a thing and figure it out and do that thing. Because I really don't want to put a box around what this could be for me. I'm a woman of many talents and also a woman of many friends, and I feel like I can leverage both of those things to really build in a way that shines a wonderful light on our community and affirms all of us and encourages all of us to push ourselves and build and grow and learn, and also to heal and to rest. And like I said, I'm the rest and the relaxation today, because this is all I'm doing. This is all I got going today. And I really want to find ways to share that with people, that you can use fiber arts as a way for healing and rest and self-care. Probably the biggest ways that my science and my fiber overlap is learning more about how to manage, and I've talked about this before, I think, how to manage my own anxiety and stress, and how so much of that is via fiber arts, and wanting to share that with the world. So I have a lot of things that I actually want to do, and honestly I need to dream bigger. Why limit myself to one specific area? But yeah, those are the things that I am currently dreaming about. I don't know. We'll see what's coming down the pipe, but that's what we got so far. All right, so it's been 45 minutes of winding, and it's mostly just been 45 minutes of chatting. So I am going to first of all drool over these cakes, but you see how very different they are, which is why I feel like I'm definitely going to have to alternate skeins. But I feel like this is going to turn out so beautiful in the the Drinks on the Lanai crop top. I think it's gonna be beautiful, and so I can't wait. Wish me luck, y'all. Ooh, I got my needles ready. Off camera, I'm gonna get started and cast on, and I feel like it's gonna be lit. So wish me luck, you guys. But that's all I got for you today. I hope those were interesting questions to you, and I hope you got to learn a little bit more about me and my origins and what I like to do and where I want to go with this. So yeah, we will definitely do more of these as time goes on. So if you have other questions for me, feel free to drop me a line. I would love to compile a list of questions for a future Q&A. But yeah, I'm gonna go get started on knitting my Drinks on the Lanai crop top, and probably watch Law and Order, because that's just the old crafty lady that I am. And like I said, follow me on social, Instagram and TikTok, to look for my progress and check out next time to see if I actually finish in time for YarnCon. But yeah, that's all I got for you today. Like I said, follow me. Please subscribe if that seems to be your jam and if you like this kind of stuff. What else was I gonna say? Oh yeah, check out my video where I talked about this pattern, the Drinks on the Lanai, or Drinks on the Patio crop top, in my last video. 10 knit and 10 crochet patterns by Black designers that you need to make for spring, and me that I also need to make for spring. Go check that video out because there's lots of good stuff. And obviously I didn't do 10, like there's extra ones through everywhere. So yeah, go check that out to get some good spring inspiration. And with that, I'll see you guys next time. Thanks. Bye.